Hey, and we're live. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me here over at Emily's Vintage Visions on Instagram. I'm going to do a short live video today talking about my current sewing project and a couple of other projects that I've just finished recently. Oh, I see a couple people join me already. Thank you. Hello. So I did a quick video about a week or two ago taking some pictures for an upcoming blog post, which I still need to edit. But I used the wall behind me here in my dining room with vintage aprons, and I just thought I would start out here and show these to you again. It's kind of one of my favorite walls in the house with little vintage aprons. This one was one my grandmother made in the 50s or 60s. But just a fun little way that you can decorate your house. If you've got a stash of aprons and you don't know what to do with them, you can tack them to your wall. So anyway, just a heads up, I do have two cats that are currently running around the house and will probably be making noise during this video. So if you hear crashes and banging noises, it's probably just the cats. So anyway, I'm going to take you over to my dining room table, which is currently serving as my cutting table. I'm hoping at some point to have an actual table in my sewing room. But it's going to take a little bit of remodeling before I have a chance to do that. So anyway, I'm going to flip the camera around here. There we go. So my most recent finished project, you may have seen a couple of pictures here the other day. I made a pair of 1930s pajama pants using this Buttricks pattern. What I did was to modify the waistband so that it was straight across, and I also, you can see here, the back is supposed to have elastic at the sides, but I eliminated the elastic and just did a solid waistband with a couple of darts in the back to take up the excess fabric. I used a linen rayon blend that I found at Joann's, which I really like, but if you do buy some of that for yourself, wash it first in warm water, and do expect it to shrink. Actually, next time I buy some of that same material, I'm going to make sure I allow at least an extra half a yard, or at least a quarter of a yard anyway, because the linen rayon will shrink. And so I'm really glad I washed the fabric first before I went ahead and sewed the pants, because otherwise they'd be a little bit too small. So that's that pattern. It's a nice one. Project that I cut out last night, another pair of pants. This is a Simplicity pattern, 1306. This is one that if you follow me on my blog, you'll have seen this pair of pants made up a number of times. I have them in a brown linen, and also in a blue wool blend that's been pretty comfortable to wear for the winter time. Pretty classic pants. They have a couple of darts here in the front. A little bit unusual for women's pants. They do have the zipper front. A lot of times you see the women's 30s and 40s pants with the opening on the side, but I like this one with the fly front. So I cut those out of, this is a cotton denim. This is a kind of a mid-weight material. This was another find at Joann's. I bought this on sale. If you watch their discounts, you can usually get a pretty good deal on their fabrics during the sales time. So that was all cut out last night. Move this out of the way. Whoops. Making a mess here. All right, so my current project is this jumper right here, or pinafore rather. This is McCall's 1540, I'm sorry, 5014. My number's mixed up. One thing that I like about the early McCall's patterns is that if you look on the back, they often have the copyright number. So this pattern is dated 1942, which is perfect for a lot of my World War II events where I want to make sure that I'm making and wearing clothing that is either pre-war or early war, depending on what the event is. And I'm using a cotton fabric. This one is by Aunt Grace. This is a reproduction fabric. This is something that I found at my local shop. But if you have quilt shops nearby, that's one place that you can check out for a lot of these reproduction prints. They can be a little bit more expensive if you buy them directly from a quilt shop, so I would recommend doing an online search because there's a number of different stores, including Etsy. Some eBay shops will also carry these repro prints. Like I said, this one is Aunt Grace. This is another reproduction print. This is Retro 30s Child Smile. This comes from a Japanese company. And I actually just finished making a dress for myself out of this as well. Some nice lightweight cotton material. I think this is really going to wash and wear well. I also have this in a purple and green colorway. I finished a 1940s shirtwaist dress that I currently have listed on Etsy in my reproduction section. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out. This is another one of the Japanese prints, the Retro Child Smile print. I found with the Japanese prints that they're 100% cotton, but they're actually a touch lighter than your regular quilting cotton, which I really like for clothing. This has been washed and it's nice and soft. It doesn't have that real stiffness like you find with a lot of the quilting weight cottons. So this particular one I think is going to be nice for the vintage clothing. The quilting cottons are not always ideal for clothing. Blouses, they're okay, but oftentimes for dresses and things like that, they can be a little stiff, so that's just something to watch out for. And I've got one more here to show you. This is another one. This brand is, let's see, Sarah Morgan. So that's another name that you can search if you're looking for reproduction prints specifically. Another 100% cotton. This one is washed up really well, and I'm going to be using this for some clothing in the future. So let me just move these out of the way. Make some space here on the table. So I have made this particular jumper once before. Again, if you follow me on my blog, you may recognize this particular outfit. I made this last spring. This is a nice cotton material. This was actually a remnant that I got, and I had just barely enough to finish the jumper. One of the things I really like about this particular pattern is that the bib section is actually removable. So if I wanted to wear this as just a separate skirt, that is an option. So one of the things I like to look for in the vintage clothing is items that are going to be really versatile and mix and match really well. So this definitely fits the bill. Plus, it has pockets here in the front. Very, very handy. I like this gathered detail here. These were vintage buttons that I had in my stash. And I'll show you the back here. I ended up using different buttons on the back, but I don't mind that they don't match. And again, you can remove the bib section, which is really nice. I've worn this a couple of different times. Once for a spring event with the white blouse that you see here, and I also wore it for Christmas time with a green sweater underneath, which was really nice, very, very festive. So that's what it looks like completed. And the fabric that I'm going to use for this, I actually, going through my stash, found some of this miniature rickrack. This is actually a polyester blend, but I don't really mind that. Sometimes it's hard to find 100% cotton trims. And they actually match the little dots here on the fabric, which is kind of nice. I don't know if I'm going to use all three of them or a combination. I guess I'll have to play around once I get all my pattern pieces cut out. I did like, though, that the pattern shows it with rickrack, so I thought that was kind of a neat little detail to try to add. As I was laying out my pattern pieces, I had forgotten that the original owner actually altered the front of the bib here. You can see it's supposed to be straight across.